Hey guys, Fullstack here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a real-time video calling app using ZEGOCLOUD and Next.js. This is a quick look of the final product, a working video group call that runs on both desktop and mobile. Step by step, I'll show you how to build the entire thing from scratch using ZEGOCLOUD's call kit. Let's get right into it. The first thing we are going to do is initialize a new Next.js project. For this, I have already created a folder and opened my Visual Studio Code. I'm going to open a new terminal and write npx create next app at latest dot. I'm going to run this command and I'm going to say yes, use recommended defaults. Once your setup has finished, we can run npm run dev and start our local development servers. I'm going to open this in my browser, and as you can see, our Next.js project has booted up correctly. Before starting anything, I'm going to go to my page.tsx file and delete everything inside the main div container. This makes it so we start with a fresh project. I'm going to write an h1 and I'm going to write ZEGOCLOUD. Let's go ahead and give it a class name. I'm going to say text 5XL, margin bottom of 8, and text white. Next, you can go to the ZEGOCLOUD link in the description. Before starting, I want to thank our friends at ZEGOCLOUD for sponsoring this video. This video is sponsored by ZEGOCLOUD. ZEGOCLOUD is a real-time audio and video cloud platform that helps developers easily add features like video calls, voice calls, and live streaming to web and mobile apps. They provide SDKs and APIs from popular frameworks, so you don't have to deal with complex WebRTC setup yourself. If you want to build reliable real-time communication features fast, ZEGOCLOUD is definitely worth checking out. I'm going to click on Start Building. Over here, you can enter your details. I'm going to start with Fullstack. I will choose my country, my email, after you enter your email, you can click on Get Code. But first of all, you need to agree with the terms. Next, we are going to hit Get Code, and we are going to complete the CAPTCHA. Go ahead and input the code you have received on your email and choose your password. Once everything's finished, you can click Start your free trial. Enter your details and your phone number and hit Continue. Once done, you can click Go to Dashboard. The first thing we are going to do is hit Create your first project. We are going to go for the voice and video call, but as you can see, ZEGOCLOUD offers multiple choices. I'm going to scroll down and hit Next. You can enter a project name. I'm going to say Fullstack ZEGOCLOUD. As you can see over here, you have the UI kit or the SDK. You can use both. I'm going to use the UI kit, and we're going to use the web one. Let's start with UI kits. As you can see, right now the project is getting created. As you can see, you can select multiple choices, such as showing the microphone, showing the camera, audio settings, and so on. I'm going to choose a group call. I'm going to leave the layout as auto. And then I'm going to hit Save and start to integrate. Over here, we get a preview of our app. This is exactly what we want. So I'm going to hit get the config file and integrate. Here you have your app ID and your server secret. Make sure you copy these values because we are going to use them. Also make sure not to share them with anyone. Let's scroll down and hit go to admin console. From here, we can select our project. In order to see the documentation, we can click the view guide button. As you can see, over here we can select everything from ZEGOCLOUD's documentation. We can go to quick start and select using npm package manager. As you can see, this is the command to install the SDK. I'm going to save this command, go to the VS Code, create a new terminal, and paste and run this command. Now that we have installed ZEGOCLOUD, we can go back to the documentation page and scroll a bit lower. Over here, you can see the implementation code for various frameworks. Let's hit Next.js and copy this logic. Let's go back to VS Code. Let's comment this for now. And then I'm going to create a function called init ZEGOCLOUD. I'm going to paste the code inside, align it properly, and as you can see, we are using await. So the first thing we need to do is make this function async. Next, as you can see, first of all, we are importing from ZEGOCLOUD the Zego UI kit prebuilt. Next, we are creating a kit token using Zego UI kit prebuilt that generate kit token for test. Over here, as you can see, we need various parameters such as app ID, server secret, room ID, user ID, and maybe even a username. We can also pass expiration seconds if we want to. So the first thing that I'm going to do is create a new .env file. If we go back to our ZEGOCLOUD console and click on our project, over here you can find your app ID, and over here you can find your server secret. Let's go ahead and in our .env create next public app ID equals, and let's copy this, and then next public server secret equals, and then just copy it. Once we have our variables in our .env, let's go ahead and use them in our function here. So instead of app ID, I'm going to say process.env.next public app ID. And as you can see, we are going to have an error. Argument of type string or undefined is not assignable to parameter of type number. This means that the app ID needs to be a number. So we can use number here to make sure that it is always a number. Next, let's go ahead and for the server's secret, let's do the same process.env next public server secret. And for this one, we are also getting an error. Argument of type string or undefined is not assignable to parameter of type string. This means that we always need our server secret. So let's go ahead, put an exclamation mark at the end to tell TypeScript that we are always going to have this value. Next, for the room ID, I'm going to create a new file and just create a function that generates a random string for us. This is the function. So export function random ID. We take as a parameter the length, which is a number, and we return a string. In the code block, we return math.random.toString of 36, substring of 2 and 2 plus length that we pass here. Going back for the room ID, make sure we export this. I'm going to use this function over here to create a random ID 5. Let's just import this from /utils. And then, so we have the app ID, we have the server secret, we have the room ID, we have the user ID. So for now, we're just going to use the user ID as a random ID, but you can pass here various authentication ID if you want to. And for the username, you're going to actually just pass guest. Now that we have this key token, we can say that const zip equals Zego UI kit prebuild.create and use the key token. Then we are going to use this zippy const that we used and use the join role function on it, which takes a container as an element. For now, we do not have this. The shell link, the room ID, which is going to be again the same room ID that we have over here. Now, in order to make this be the same, we need to take this room ID and actually initialize it before. So I'm going to say const room ID equals, and I'm going to say over here, random ID of 5. And then let's take this room ID and actually replace it. Now we have the same room ID here, and we can use the same room ID here. So this container element is just a div. Let's go ahead and create a use ref on element equals use ref. This is going to be null. Let's also make sure to give it a type, which is going to be HTML div element. Let's go ahead and create the element. This is going to be just a simple div with the class name height of string. And then I'm going to say ref equals element. So right now, this element over here is a reference to this div. Now, as you can see, this is still complaining. All we have to do is for this element to say .current. So now that we have this function, right? Before returning, let's go ahead and create a use effect. Let's initialize it whenever we reload the page. And let's actually call our function in its ZEGOCLOUD. Now, if we go back to the page and hit refresh, we're going to see an error that use effect can only be used in client components, which is correct. So to make this a client component, all we need to do is go to the tab and write this client. Now, if we go back, as you can see, we have our room ID, which is random for now. We have the name guest. And if we join, we have our room ID. Now, how about we make it so any other person can connect to this? I'm going to close out of the call for now and return to the home screen. As you can see, whenever we refresh, we have a new ID. But even if we go to this ID and refresh, you can see that the ID is not the same. So what we need to do is make this ID in the URL be the same over here. So as you know, for now, each time we refresh, we have a new ID. Now what I'm going to do is in my app folder, create a new folder called whole, and then inside it, create another new folder. And I'm going to type room ID like this, which means this is the parameter. And I'm going to create a new file, page.tsx. Now, if I do array-fce, I can create a React arrow function, export component. I'm going to delete the React. And I'm going to pause board page. What this means is whenever we go to localhost /call/1234, for example, we have this call page. If we have to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we still have this call page. But for now, what we need to do is make this be a use client again and actually get that parameter from the URL. So to do that, in order to do that, we are going to say const room ID, and this needs to be the same as this name over here, equals use params from next navigation. Now, whenever we type this room ID in a div, if we refresh, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go to test, you can see test. Now, why is this important? Because we are going to use this to connect to said video call conference. Now, let's copy all this code from here and paste it over here, call page. Now, as you can see, the effect is not imported, random ID is not imported, and the useref is not imported. Now that we have this, all we have to do is go back to the page, delete this, delete this, and now we need to delete this room ID, which is random for now. We are going to have it from the parameter. Now, we have an issue here. Argument to type parameter is not a parameter of type string. Type undefined is not the same as type string. So I'm going to say that the room ID is a string. Now that there are no errors, let's make sure to change this, to initialize this ZEGOCLOUD function whenever our room ID changes. So now, if I go back to my localhost, as you can see, we only have ZEGOCLOUD, but if we go to /call/1234, as you can see, our shell URL is broken. So what we need to do is come here and delete the last parts using room ID. And the plus sign. Now, if we refresh, as you can see, localhost 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we refresh, we have the same URL. So let's go ahead and copy it, open a new tab and go to the same URL. Put those two side by side. And let's try to join the room. So I'm going to join the room as guest 1 for the first room. I'm going to turn off the camera and the microphone for not echoing. And now that guest 1 is in the room, we are going to join with guest 2 as well. As you can see, both the guests have successfully entered the call. We can talk, we can use the video, we can use the chat. If we open both instances, I'm going to say hello from guest 1. As you can see, it instantly pops up as a message for the guest 2. You can say hey there as guest 2, and the same goes back. Okay, now that we have this, how do we make it so we generate a random ID and then we join the room? So this is simple. We can just close and close. We turn to the home screen. So now I'm just going to make this big. Whenever we are on our localhost, we want to make a button that sends us to our random ID. If we already have the ID, we can input the ID. If not, we are going to generate a random ID. So in order to do that, let's go back to our main page again. And we can create an input of type text. The value is UID. On change, we are going to say the event, and we are going to say set room and B. E the target and value. Now we do not have this state yet. So let's go ahead and create it. I'm going to say const room ID set room ID is equal to useState, and let's make it an empty string by default. Let's also import useState. Now, as you can see, there's an input over here, but we cannot see it very well. So let's give it a nice class. I'm first going to create a div that's going to hold this input and a button that we are going to create in a second. For this div, I'm going to give a class name of flex items, center, justify, center, and max width small, and also width dash full. Now, if we go back, as you can see, this is over here. So what we need to do, in the parent div container, we're going to change the flex direction. So I'm going to say flex call. Now they are both one on top of the other. For the input, let's give it a class name of border dash white. I'm going to also give it a padding X of 4, actually, a padding Y of 2. Okay, let's also give it a border radius, so rounded small. This is much better. I'm going to give it a placeholder of enter room ID, and let's say this is optional. Let's also go ahead and create a button. I'm going to say join room, and let's give it a bit of styling. I'm going to say class name BG blue 500, PX of 4, PY of 2, width full. And on hover, let's actually give it a different background, PG blue 600. And let's also give it a cursor of pointer. See how it looks. As you can see, they are one next to each other. So let's go to the parent div and give it flex call as well. And let's also give it a gap of 4. Now this looks good, but the input doesn't have width full. So let's go ahead and give it as well. Nice. This is looking very nice. Now we need to do, whenever we click this join room, we need to be going to /call / either a random ID or the ID that the user enters here. So I'm going to create a non-click and say handle click. Now let's create this function. Once handle click is going to be a function. Now the first thing that we need to do is we need to import the router. So I'm going to say const router equals use router, but make sure to always use the next navigation version, not the next router version. I'm going to call this function. And over here in the handle click, now we can use the room ID to route our user. So I'm going to say const path equals, I want to go to /call /room ID. Next time I say router at push path. Now, whenever we click 1, 2, 3, 4 and hit join room, as you can see, we're going to /call /1, 2, 3, 4. If we hit test and hit join room, we are going to /test. Now, if we go back, what is happening if we just hit join room without entering any room ID? We are going to go to /call, which we do not want. So if we do not have this room ID, we can say const ID equals, it's either room ID, or we are going to use the utils function, which is random ID, import it of 5, and instead just route to this ID. Now, if we do not have any ID entered and hit the join room, we are going to be given a random ID. If we do enter an ID, say 1, 2, 3, we are going to go to 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Now, as you can see here, we have an error, which is join repeat. This is because in development, React initializes states 2 times in order for you to figure out errors. So you have nothing to worry about. Now, let's say we are in this room and we hit join. The one thing that I didn't like is that you cannot see the room anywhere for now. So what I'm going to do is go back to the file and fix something we forgot about. We never created the new div element. So over here where we have room ID, I'm going to instead render React fragment. I'm going to say div. Let's give it the ref to element as before. And let's also pass the room ID that we had. I'm going to make it absolute, top 0, actually top 2 and left 2. Let's say room ID, room ID. Now let's refresh and see if this works. Okay, but this is very small. We forgot to add to the div the class name of height screen. Now if you go back and refresh, as you can see, everything is working correctly, and we can also see the room ID. The only issue is that once we join the video call, we cannot see it anymore. So let's go ahead and give it also a Z index of 10. Now we can see the room ID inside the call as well. So whenever we join a room, as you can see, we still get this error, the join room repeat. So basically this function is getting called twice. And as I said, this is because of React strict mode. React strict mode initializes values twice in order for you to find bugs. This is only in development mode. So in production, you will not be having this error. If you want to disable React use strict mode in Next.js on development, which I do not recommend, but you can go to your next config and write inside the next config, React strict mode is false. Now this is going to trigger a refresh of the development server. Now, if we refresh the page and join the room, you can see the error is gone.